friends, I'm Dr. Natalie Crawford. I'm a board-certified OBGYN and fertility doctor. And every single day, I talk to people about their bodies, their health, their fertility, and try to help put you in a position to be a better advocate for your own health. And that is what this entire YouTube channel is about. So please subscribe, like, share if you enjoy supporting accurate and educational women's health about your body and your fertility and hormones. Today, I want to talk about your egg quality, and I want to give you my top 5 tips that you should start doing immediately if you want to see an improvement in your egg quality. Egg quality and egg quantity are two different things that often get confused. So when we think about this, your egg quantity is the number of eggs you have remaining. If we remember, my very favorite analogy is that you're born with all the eggs you're ever going to have kept in a vault inside your ovary. And throughout your life, these eggs come out of the vault, and when the vault is empty, you're in menopause. Well, throughout that period of time, you're constantly losing eggs. And so as you run out of eggs, you will have less eggs available every month. Interesting fact, fewer eggs in the vault, fewer eggs come out every single month. And those are markers of egg quantity, or the number of eggs. And we can check that with things like AMH, or anti-Mullerian hormone, which is a blood test, or an ultrasound, which is checking an AFC, or an antral follicle count. Egg quality is not something that we can easily test. We know that the quality of your eggs decreases as we all get older. And this is simply because the eggs are sitting inside that vault longer. What is so fascinating is that in the female egg, your chromosomes are in the perfect position, and you have 2 sets of every chromosome in your egg. They actually divide right when you're ovulating. So I always like to think about these have to stay in perfect position up until you ovulate. So when you're trying to get pregnant and you're 25, your chromosomes have not been held in that position quite as long as they have when you're 39. That's why when you're 39, you have a significantly higher number of chromosome abnormalities in your eggs. This causes a higher miscarriage rate, a higher rate of genetic abnormalities, and ultimately a lower pregnancy rate and a lower live birth rate. When you combine these two factors together, having less eggs and less normal eggs, it makes it harder to get pregnant as you get older. The truth is, you cannot change the rate of your egg decline, with very, very few exceptions. So this means that your eggs, you're born with a number and you're running out of them over time. However, your egg quality, even though this is decreasing over time, you actually have a lot more influence over. And this is for 2 reasons. One is because the world around you and your body, what you subject your eggs to, does have a big impact, and if those chromosomes are going to stay in place or not. Now, we can't undo everything that time has done, but trying to provide a less confusing, distracting environment, a less toxic environment, can be beneficial. The analogy I like to use here is to imagine your chromosomes are like a line of kindergartners. So if I'm asking them to stand in line for 39 years, somebody's going to get out of line. If I have a lot of fun things happening around them that are distracting, or they're not sure where they're supposed to be, and there's a lot of interference, the risk of them getting out of line is even higher. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for your chromosomes to stay in the right place. And so really, the things that you can control all have to circle around inflammation. Inflammation, as we have more research, it impacts your fertility. Inflammatory diseases decrease your ability to get pregnant. Inflammation is associated with period abnormalities, increased risk for miscarriage, and lower pregnancy rates. You control some of the inflammation in your body, and you may not even realize it. This is because you're living in such an inflammatory world, your day-to-day exposures may not seem like that much. And I'll give a personal example. If you've been here for a while, you know that I had many pregnancy losses before I had my 2 children. And it wasn't until a decade later that it was discovered that I had celiac disease. Now, I had had inflammatory symptoms and they were vague, and it wasn't until everything got so bad that it actually got diagnosed. And yet when I started to remove gluten and really felt what it felt like to be truly, truly anti-inflammatory, I had never felt better because I was living with such a constant burden of inflammation. And so it's really important, if you're struggling especially, or you're trying to get pregnant at an older age, that you control the factors that you can, because you can't control everything. So here are my top 5 tips for you if you want to try to improve your egg quality or the chromosome structure normality inside your eggs. Number 1 is going to be to pay attention to the foods you eat, specifically more whole foods and less processed foods. Your gut microbiome is actually very, very important in the regulation of hormone production and inflammation. And if you hear about things like a leaky gut, what that means is that the gut barrier is not protecting your body from toxic substances. But the gut is also so important, as I said, in the regulation of hormones, specifically estrogen. So when it comes to trying to decrease your inflammation, whole foods, meaning decreased processed foods, no fried foods, decrease sugar, decrease the processed meats, and really start to look at focusing the diet on those real foods that exist, that is my top tip number 1. Number 2 is going to be to consider adding in a supplement, and I always think in the perfect world, every single nutrient you need should come from food. However, that's always not reality. And one thing that has been consistently shown to be beneficial for egg quality is coenzyme Q10. And the dose for egg quality in studies is 200 milligrams 3 times a day. So you can take CoQ10 3 times a day, up to 600 milligrams, and this dose can be helpful for egg quality. Now, of course, if you're trying to get pregnant, please take a prenatal vitamin and please take 400 micrograms of folic acid. If you take methylated folate, take an additional folic acid. And I have information on that specifically, but want to make sure that you are getting the nutrients you need for pregnancy. But for egg quality, CoQ10 can be beneficial. Number 3 is going to be remove plastics. Any plastics, we know that microplastics become a part of our body, a part of our ovaries, but we also know that plastics have endocrine disrupting chemicals in them, things like BPA, and that other endocrine disruptors like phthalates and PFCs and forever chemicals live in so many products we come in contact with. I could give you a whole list for a kitchen overhaul, and we'll do a video on that soon, but let's start with plastic. If you drink out of plastic, you eat out of plastic, you put it in the dishwasher, you put it in the microwave, no, you don't. There's no reason for us to be having plastics in our world. And if you find things that are plastic, try to replace them with stainless steel is a great option. And don't forget things like straws. So make sure that you are not exposing your body to extra bits of plastic that you don't have to, because those exposures do build up. And the worst of the worst is going to be heating plastic. No plastic in dishwasher, no plastic in the microwave. Now, number 4 is going to be to sleep. And any podcast, any talk I ever give, I always say this should actually be my number 1. This is what people do not do enough. We put our bodies last. We suffer for the grind. And I could, pot to kettle for me because I can be the same way. But getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep is going to be so crucial, really 7.5 to 8.5, and set a good sleep environment. This means electronics, charge them over there, get an alarm clock that's going to help you wake up at the same time, go to bed at the same time, get a sleep mask. I love my sleep mask. Set a good environment with the room. Think of a sound machine. And I recommend taking melatonin no more than 3 milligrams at night because too much can actually be detrimental. Less than that is actually fine, but 3 milligrams is the absolute most. At night, at a consistent time, about 30 minutes before you want to get to bed, melatonin is an antioxidant and it can help you get more rest. Sleep is when your body heals. You've got to give your body good time to heal if you want to really decrease that inflammation. And then number 5 is going to be to move for your body and for your health. This means building muscle. Having more muscle mass is going to help protect you against insulin resistance, which is a huge cause of inflammation. So this is strength training, resistance training, body weight training, and then also doing things that are going to give you that feeling and decrease your stress burden. And so maybe that's yoga, maybe it's a walk outside, maybe it's stretching. I don't know, we're all different. But try to free yourself from the more is more mentality. Every day does not have to be going for a personal best. Listen to your body and really focus on using movement to build muscle and to reduce your stress. And so there's 5 tips that you can start to integrate right away if you want to try to help improve your own egg quality. If you have questions about egg quality, list them below. And if you want more detailed videos on some of these, I could talk forever. So please ask your questions and let me know if you want more. As always, thank you so much for all your support. Please subscribe and follow along and share. You can always get more information on the As a Woman podcast or follow along on Instagram. Thanks, friends.